So yeah, the title of the statement is SASCO, do we really need to march? Just walk upstairs to your senior comrades. Every year, SASCO turns the serious call for free education into a meaningless ritual. SASCO preys on the desperation of poor black students to perpetuate its hypocrisy. Students should note the following. SASCO and the broader PYA are part of the ruling alliance which is denying us free education and are now calling upon us to march against the same ANC alliance they are a part of, instead of telling their friends in government to implement free education. Zimanda's gradualism towards free education is an indication of the ANC's lack of intent to solve black people's problems, of which education is an integral part. Throughout this campaign, SASCO has refused to acknowledge that the issue of fees is a burden of black students. This is because SASCO does not want to confront the ANC's nursing of white capital at the expense of the black majority. The pain and suffering of black students has become the cannon fodder of SASCO's career ambitions. While the call for free education is important, we must realize that it will not be delivered by the ANC, or its alliance partners, or any other party for that matter. There will be no free education under the ANC, because 1994 changed for all. You got that. Now that is a statement that we're sort of distributing to people on campus. And probably half an hour into us distributing the statement and sort of pamphlets about this event, there's some in campus control, because I mean some of them are members of the SRC, some in campus control, and we're taking to SDLU, where some of our stuff was taken. So we would love to hand out statements to everyone, but I'm afraid that if I really give this to one person, they'll take disciplinary action against me. So I have all my details in now, and yeah. But maybe we'll maybe put it up on the Wits Blackwash page, and maybe Ati can maybe sort of circulate a register or something to you can start a mailing list. I'm sure you heard enough from me.
I have a lot of material to go through, but I mean, I'm going to try to avoid doing a lot of reading. I do think if there's a bit of time at the end, it might be good to return to your statement, Blackwash statement. Maybe interrogate some of its logic, whether it makes sense politically at this point, because if SASCO is marching for free education, it seems like it's a good thing, and you guys are questioning the motive of SASCO. I'm not going to. I have always suggested I must read the statement. Let me say, I mean, we see the topic that Egypt was a revolution lost and lessons for post-1994 South Africa. The important thing really is this. When the big democratic sweep happened in the north of African continent, it was clear that for the 21st century, this is a big thing. For me, it was a big thing. That we had, again, the real possibility of people organizing themselves against regimes that they do not want. And going to the streets and changing regimes, not by elections, but by their own actions. So I thought that we need to reflect on this. And Egypt is important because I think it's got many features similar to the South African reality. Okay, besides the guy who was, president for as long as he was. But if you look at the structure of that society, by and large, it's similar to the South African reality. Now, this talk makes a big assumption, and that is people want revolution. The only reason we will spend an afternoon discussing a revolution is because we want a revolution. But I did also think that for the university students, maybe your interest in the revolution is purely theoretical or academic. It is not that you really want to see society change in your lifestyle. So it's an interesting theoretical proposition. Okay, so we started the revolution, under what conditions it will happen, and is there possibilities for a revolution here? So we are engaged in the revolution in a distant way. But I think, as somebody who himself has spent time at the university, is an important intellectual engagement in itself. But I hope that some people are real revolutionaries in the sense that they do want to see a completely different possibility from that we are experiencing right now. So this for me the big motivation for why we have to spend time thinking about what happened in Egypt. I'm the editor of this thing called New Frame Talk, and we have brought out this one with the same title, Egypt or the Revolution Lost. And we have two essays in one in this one. The one essay is by Henry Bonke, South African, white revolutionary, was an MK, but very critical of what has happened since 1994. And he was key, I mean, even when Chris was killed, immediately at the time, he was involved in the defense of people against Ikat and so on. And he writes to say, look, there are some lessons for Egypt from the South African experience. That's the one essay. The other essay is by C.R. James. This is a great black Marxist historian thinker who in 1981 gave a speech around Rodney. Rodney was killed, of course, in Guyana by reactionary forces. Walter Rodney is a key black, again, thinker who brought that book out. I hope those who do social sciences, your lecturers do prescribe Walter Rodney, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. To understand that the wealth in the first world or in Europe, it's all stolen property. The development of the global north was as a result of stealing from us, mass murder, and so on. And that the relationship continues. We have, I think, a great speech by Sarah James explaining how this great thinker of the revolution and the Marxian theoretician was killed so easily. Another time in Guyana, there was a real possibility in the Caribbean, in fact, of a revolution. And everybody was looking at Rodney to lead this revolution. And Rodney was available so easily to be killed by these reactionary forces. So here, Sarah James was asked the simple question of, and he was talking to young people. He said, if you're serious about the revolution, you have to know one question, how to take power. And so if you read that, you will see this question. So there's an interesting, I think, for me, two mix. One, South African experience, what it tells the Egyptians, and what a revolutionary should be aware of. Because if you are a revolutionary, if you don't know these things, you will be killed long before you see the revolution. It's as simple as that. My talk has got really 5 points I want to make. The first point is that, and I agree with Blackwash that 1994 changed focus. So, from this point of view, the first point is that we need a revolution in South Africa to give ourselves another possibility. You know, the questions of, I mean, we all know these problems. I know here, some people are still struggling to get money to get registered. There's issues of education and tuition, but then there's bigger questions of healthcare, real education to majority of black people, the poverty, the crack houses the ANC built, the exclusion of the majority. All these things, I believe that they cannot be solved by the ANC project. It doesn't matter how many promises they make. We need, in a sense of society, I believe, another rupture to give ourselves a chance to reclaim society, to reclaim the wealth and distribute, you know, more democratically what we have. You know, Julius Malema talking about the economy and nationalization is all bullshit. Under the ANC, what will happen is state capitalism. Already they're doing that. I mean, I can give you examples, and we all know how they're stealing our money legally, for instance, through either SASCO setting up a private company to steal from us, or the ANC setting a private company to give itself the mineral rights that are for our country. So I'm saying that we need a revolution in South Africa to move. Now, this is the problem. The problem is this. Do we wait for a revolution or do we make a revolution? And these are old questions of, you know, old Marxists will talk about objective conditions versus the subjective conditions. So in other words, and Sierra James is saying you must wait for the objective condition. You must wait for the people to be so angry, to be so alienated against the regime before you move. But some of us say, no, we must be subjective. In other words, we make the revolution ourselves. We drag the hand of history, we don't wait. These are the two big questions that we have to deal with when we think about revolution. The Cuban Revolution, for instance. We know that Castro and Che Guevara made that revolution under impossible conditions. If they waited for the objective conditions, the workers to strike, the peasants to move on, that revolution would have happened. So these crazy guys from university who are middle class, who for whatever reason decide, okay, we're going to get grants, we're going to organize people, we're going to shoot our way into Cuba, into Havana. They did it. I mean, if you said that, it's like now, if you said, well, you guys make a revolution, I think in Cuba at the time, people would laugh at you. That is a subjective possibility for a revolution, where you move yourself into the revolution. I'm saying South Africa, we need to have a revolution. Whether we wait, as Lenin and James argue, or as Zizek and others argue, that we actually make this revolution is the key question that I'd like us to maybe to reflect on. The second point I want to make is that no one really knows when the revolutionary movement will present itself. You see, if you spoke to the people in Tunisia or in Egypt, even now in Libya, and we can reflect this when we have a chance to ask questions. If you said to them, okay, there's going to be a revolution in 2 weeks' time, no one would agree. I think even the people who were in the revolution, in their millions as they move on, they don't believe really that the regime can be dissolved. So you don't know when the revolution is going to happen. There are consequences for not knowing. And those consequences is that when the revolution springs itself up into your historical moment, what do you do as a revolutionary? So those people who have a political, ideological interest in the revolution, you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready for the revolution. When it happens, if you are not, and this is what I'm going to tell you about Egypt. In Egypt, they had the revolution, but they were not ready for the revolutionary moment. That's why the revolution went down the tubes. So you don't know when it's going to happen, so you're going to be ready. What does it mean to be ready? This is the question. And I'll probably come back to this question, but think about it. The third point I want to make is that we don't know the outcomes of a revolutionary upheaval. You see, we can have a revolutionary moment with the consequences that we go backward instead of moving forward. I mean, when I think about what happened with what we call xenophobic attacks, 2008, my reading is that in fact we had something of a rupture in society. We had something of unhappiness about the system. Now things work. But instead of people actually saying, okay, let's go to something, let's go to where money is, let's ask questions of our government, people are killing one another. So the point is that a revolutionary moment does not necessarily mean we know that. In fact, I'll argue right now, if you can have a revolution, it will be led by Julius Malema or it will be led by Helen Zille. Because the way they speak, both of them about, okay, either efficiency, delivery at that level of, animal level, as I call it, of the DA. The DA will only deliver at animal level. The ANC, as I keep on making the point, has repressed so much the desires of black people, of what it means to exist and to be free, that the DA can actually provide for these things. I mean, what is an RDP house? Think about it. I mean, RDP house, the DA will give an RDP house. It will probably give a slightly bigger RDP house. It will build maybe roads and it will bring some, a few other things. So Helen Zille will stand and he will say that we can give you jobs. The ANC will promise you jobs, will give you jobs. And it will mean we'll continue the system as is, like black people will come workers, they will sign us up, they will pay us what, they pay us, COSAT will organize us. In fact, Helen Zille and COSAT should go into an alliance, if you think about it. Because she can organize white capital, and COSAT can organize black workers, and black workers will accept the conditions of being workers, and every year 6%, 7%, okay. There's no, that's a call from the Julia house.